Hi everyone, Raquel here from Scrap Cozy. Today I'm bringing you two projects that I created for my latest release with Paper Artsy in January 2018, using my ESC12 stamp set, ESC10 stamp set, and one of the coordinating stencils PS095 that I've designed for this release and that are available now at my Etsy shop. See link in the description video below. Let's get started. I'm going to use a selection of fresco paint to create a monoprint technique background. I'm using my brayer to apply a first layer of nougat, and then on a spare piece of paper I'm going to apply other paints, which I will then stamp on my piece of paper to create some texture and add some paint here and there. That's the monoprinting. And I'm using also blue oyster and taupe. I will be adding layers and layers because in case that I don't like a specific color or it's too bright, then I'll apply another layer on top and it will cover it. It dries super fast, so it doesn't mix the paint, it just adds another layer. That's for a second card that I'll be doing later. I'm heat setting that and I'll repeat the same with that square piece. So I'm just applying a first layer on top of my card and I try to always follow the same direction. And then I will be adding some dots of this mix of paints and apply it on my surface until I like the result. Once dry, I'm going to stamp and I will be using VersaFine ink Vintage Photo, which is an oil-based paint. Instead of this paint, I may be using in the future archival ink because it will dry faster than the VersaFine because that one is alcohol-based and it dries much faster. Now I'm going to create my letters, so I'm stamping the title and I will just be using the C word. So I'm heat setting that to make sure that it's completely dry, and then I'll apply some glaze and I'll use the Distress Oxide Vintage Photo ink with that mix of glaze to paint some of the letters, some of the details. The colors I'm using are cream, browns and blue, so that's what I will be using also for the letters and for different details. So to add a touch of blue, I'm going to use blue oyster, just a little drop, which I will mix with glaze, because this paint is opaque, so I'm going to mix it with glaze to make it a bit more translucent, and then I'll add some touches on those letters. Once everything is dry, I'm going to cut the 3 letters and also that little sentence. Once all is cut, I'm going to see where it fits better. And then I will age my page a little bit with some vintage photo distress ink. And I will age also those letters. Once I know where everything goes, I decide that I'm going to stamp a little star as well on the side of the sentiment. So I'm going to use the VersaFine ink again and stamp it on the side. Additionally, I'm stamping it on another page because I'm going to stick it on top. I'm going to paint it first with the same mix of Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, and I will also use that to color my octopus. And now I'll start assembling the canvas a little bit with some Mod Podge, which is my go-to glue. I'll just stick the bottom first, so that sentence and the little star. And then I decide that I want to make the letters a little bit more aged, so I'm going to do some little cuts on them and apply some water on those cuts, and that will let me rip and turn the paper a little bit. I'm zooming in so then you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just making some cuts, and then with my wet brush I'm touching those cuts, and that allows me to basically twist the paper a little bit. Once all are done, and for a final touch I'm going to add a little bit more of Distress ink, vintage photo on the edges of those letters, and then I will finally stick them in place with some Mod Podge. Just repositioning them where I wanted them, and then I'll stick them one by one. And after that, the first project will be done. And this is how it looks like. I really like this octopus. So detailed. And now we are going to do the second card, for which I'm going to use ESC12 stamp set. And I'm going to use the piece of paper that I prepared at the very beginning of the video. I will use similar technique using the VersaFine ink to stamp my fish. I'm heat setting it to make sure that it's completely dry, and then I'm going to create a mask because I want to stamp on top afterwards on the left side of it, and I want to make sure that my fish is not covered. I'm using for that a post-it note, and I'm making sure that the part that is sticky is actually in the fish, okay? So once I have the mask, I place it on top, and then I'll stamp the rest of the image. The image was not that big, and actually the mask was not fully covered, but just in case I prefer to protect it. So once I press down and make sure that all the detail is transferred to my paper, I lift the stamp and I'll remove my mask. And to color the images, I'm using the same technique as before. I'm mixing some Distress Oxide ink that I pressed onto the craft sheet with some glaze. And then I'm making a translucent paint that I will use to color the fish and the starfish as well as the shells. Since the paint that I've just created is translucent, I can apply layer after layer to build up more color if I need to. And now I will be using the stencil to add some bubbles as if they were coming out of the fish. This is a two-step stencil, so first I'm applying the bubbles and then I will be applying the reflection of the bubbles, which are on the top part of the stencil. I reposition them and then I apply a thin layer. I heat set those, and to make them pop a little bit more, I'm going to add some Blue Oyster paint through the stencil, just on the reflections. Since the color is too vibrant, once it's dry, I'm going to sand it a little bit. And that's it. Now I'm going to add some distress edges by applying some vintage photo distress ink, and the project is done. I hope you like these techniques that I shared with you, and the stamps and the stencils. If you like this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up and a comment. They really make my day, and I read them all, so I'll reply to you. And if you like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!